back to the part 2 of the basic concepts of communication. So in this video, I'll be discussing on the importance of communication, the types of communication, barriers in communication, and how to overcome the barriers in communication, and also finally the effective tools for communication.
Let's have a look into the importance of communication. Communication, as we all know, is a process. I repeat, it is a process. And when you talk about the role of home science extension, the role of communication in home science extension, we all know that we deal widely with the family and the home. Family is considered to be the basic unit of the society, and we start working with the family in order to reach to the community and further at macro levels to the society. So it deals with the social and economic factors that have a strong effect on the home and family. So it includes caring and training of the children, providing nutritional education to the community, preserving, producing, and preparing food for the family members, planning low cost balanced diets, incorporating the seasonal and traditional foods available, the locally available foods, managing and improving the household materials, the home, family budget, the management of the available resources, which includes time, energy, money, and each and every members of the family, securing the family against crisis, disaster management, providing social and economic security, improving the personal hygiene, sanitation, cleanliness of each and every members of the family, then taking care of the clothes that we use, selecting, marketing, marking, caring, making of the clothes, image consultancy. See, all these comes under the umbrella of extension, home science extension especially. So the extension programs that we plan in the community should focus on the transfer of such knowledge. It looks for acceptance and adoption of the programs to local and individual needs. Utilization of the knowledge is a priority of the extension activity. For that, we need to have clear and crisp mode of communication. The extension worker or the extensionist should be able to communicate properly to the society or to his target group as well as to the stakeholders about the objectives, functioning, understanding, and methods of practice of a particular program. So, communication is essential for better coordination, smooth working, effective decision making, cooperation, managerial efficiency, job satisfaction, better leadership qualities, increasing productivity, moral building, achieving managerial roles, and the like. So, as a subject matter specialist in the field of extension, it is a role of the home science extension people to coordinate and recruit and train other people. That is why we call extension persons as the master trainers, because our sole role is to train the people, whether it be the community members or the stakeholders or the people surrounding us, who transforms the messages, who transfers the messages to the community. So that is why communication is very important as far as an extension worker is considered. Now let's come to the types of communication. There are different types of communication. We communicate with each other in different ways. That depends upon the message, the context, etc. So basically, the type of communication is based on the communication channels that we use. Communication are of two types: verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Verbal communication refers to the form of communication in which the message is transmitted verbally. It is very clear. It is done by word of mouth and a piece of writing. So verbal communication are of two types: oral and written. In oral communication, spoken words are used. It includes a face-to-face conversation, speech, telephonic conversation, video conferencing, radio, television, over voice over internet. So the communication here is largely or to a greater extent influenced by the pitch, volume, speed, and clarity of the speaker. So the very good advantages of oral communication is that it brings you quick feedback because you are communicating face to face. And another thing is, by reading the facial expression and body language, you can easily guess whether that person, he or she, should trust what's being said or not. And that brings the disadvantages also, like it is easily forgotten, and there is greater scope of error in reading the body language, and lack of accountability. We cannot take the words of somebody as a final judgment. So there is lack of accountability. When it comes to written communication, written signs or symbols are used to communicate here. The message can be transmitted via email, letter, report, memo, signs, etc. Written communication is most common form of communication being used in business. And when it comes to extension work also, earlier we used to do lot of personal communications by sending personal letters, thereafter by circular letters, now everything being transmitted through emails, messages and all. So these messages can be edited and revised. That is the best part. Written communication provide a record and reference. Unlike the oral communication, we have the record that that person has sent us the communication. A written message enables a receiver to fully understand it and send appropriate feedback. As I said earlier, in oral communication, there are lot of scopes for errors. The accent, the body language sometimes may create confusion among the receiver. But that will not happen in case of a written communication because he has the written matter in front of him in the form of letters. The disadvantage is that they does not bring instant feedback. It takes time. If you write an email to somebody, it will take some time for him to respond back. And you will get the feedback only once he responds. So it take more time in composing a written message as compared to word of mouth, and number of people struggles for writing ability. So if you are not good at writing, there will be miscommunication. Then we have visual communication. These are communication through a visual aids. This includes signs, drawings, graphic design, illustration, animation, color, usage of electronic resources, advertising, industrial designing, etc. This explores the idea that a visual message accompanying text has a greater power to inform, educate, and motivate a person or a group of audience. Now, coming to non-verbal communication, these are sending or receiving of wordless messages. Gestures, body language, posture, tone of the voice, or facial expressions are some of the examples of non-verbal communication. Kinesthetics, the body language, is also a non-verbal form of communication. So, whatever be the form, it has three basic elements: appearance, body language, and sound. When it comes to the appearance of a speaker, the clothing, the hairstyle, neatness, personal outlook, use of cosmetics, everything plays a significant role. When it comes to surroundings, the size of the room, the nature of the room, the lighting, the space, Decorations, furnishings, everything plays an important role. And body language, as we all know, is basically facial expressions, gestures, and postures that you can try to communicate with the other person. Sounds, the volume of your sound, the speech rate, the speed of your talk, the voice tone, the modulations that you bring in a talk are very crucial when you do non-verbal communication. And there is something very interesting part which is known as the grapevine communication, which is an informal communication when an informal channel is used to communicate. It is not a deliberately created or officially prescribed channel for the flow of information. It is free from all sorts of formalities. In fact, it is a quick vehicle for the transfer of messages. Network formed out of personal relationships, social relationships, groups, and not out of position or authority or subordinate, superior um, positions and organizational hierarchy. Grapevine communication acts as a quick vehicle for the transfer of messages. Now, let's have a look into the levels of communication. We have intrapersonal communication, interpersonal communication, one to one group of communication, small group communication. Let's discuss about intrapersonal communication. It is a communication that occurs in your mind. It is not sometimes, every time you used to have an intrapersonal communication. It is purely based on your feelings, your biases, your prejudices, your beliefs, your understanding. The very good example that I could cite at this moment is the communication that you make when you start a day. For example, when you are getting ready to go to the college, the first thing that comes to your mind is which dress to wear, what hairstyle should I adopt, so what accessories could I use, what to eat. So when you read something silently, so these are intrapersonal communication. You are trying to communicate to yourself. You are not expecting an answer from an outsider. But when this communication takes place between two people and involves more in an informal conversations, it is interpersonal communication. The talks we make with each other, talking with friends, student teacher communication, employee employer communication, parents to children. So these are all interpersonal communication. And one to group communication, we know that it involves a speaker who basically speaks, who seeks to inform, persuade, and motivate a set of audience. The very good example is the lecturing by a teacher. Then the speeches made by the speakers in events are one to group communication. Then we have small group communication within the formal or informal groups or teams. All group works, the discussions that we involve while taking an assignment or a task, the group interactions, these help us to have to develop the decision making skill, the problem solving skill, and the discussions to be carried out, and the way to we need to communicate and interact with others. Everything happens on small group communications. Then we have mass communication, which is the electronic or print transmission of messages to the general public. It includes radio, television, newspapers, films, printed materials, which are designated to reach larger and wider audience. Articles from newspaper, television programs, radio broadcasting, magazine articles are examples of mass communication. Next comes to the barriers of communication. Barriers means the blocks. We have physical barriers, environmental barriers. Physical or environmental barriers can be caused by the time, the place, space, choice of medium, the noise involved, the climate, everything. Suppose if I am giving a lecture through an online mode and there occurs a power failure or an internet connectivity issue, That is a noise which I get, and that is a form of physical barrier to me. So barriers caused by wrong choice of medium, semantic barriers caused by varied connotative meanings, cultural barriers caused by the diversity of cultures, especially when as far as an extension worker is concerned, he works with the community. It need not be the community which is a native of him. So there will always be chances for diversity of cultures when you work with the tribal communities, when you work with the urban rural communities. So there is always diversity of cultures, and sometimes barriers happens. The psychological or the attitudinal barriers, this caused by the moods, attitudes, and relationships. A very good example is, imagine that somebody whom you don't like is giving you some advices. How will you react to that particular situation? Will that communication process becomes complete? No. You will not read, or you will not be ready to listen, or you will not give your ears to him. So that is a psychological barrier as far as that particular speaker is concerned. Then there are barriers caused by varying perception of reality. This caused by the levels of understanding and comprehension. Every person possesses a certain level of understanding and comprehension, and it differs from person to person, geography to geography, and from region to region. And that is the first thing as an extension worker we need to understand. So, in order to overcome all these things, we need to have better clarity on the ideas before communicating. That is why we always used to tell that we should know the audience. We should understand the level of the audience, their nature, their basic background, their socio-cultural, economic backgrounds. Communicate according to the need of the receiver. Always try to be a good listener. Be aware of the language, tone, and the content of the message. Many a times we used to hear that that is what not I meant. That is not what I meant. So it means there occurred some sort of miscommunication in the form of the content or the tone or the language from the speaker. So we should always be aware of that fact. Then convey messages that are useful for the audience and those that only can be adapted to their daily living. Ensure proper feedback. Consistency in the message should always be there, and you should not talk two things at a time, standing on both the boats. So it should not be contradictory. And for having an effective communication process, we have 7 C's. Clear, minimize the number of ideas and stick to one point at a time. Concise, stick to the point and make it brief. It should be concrete. The messages that we are trying to communicate should be clear and solid, and it should be error free, correct. Coherent means the points should be connected and relevant to the situation. It should call for action, complete. It should be open, friendly, and honest, and there should not be any hidden tones or double meanings, courteous. So clear, concise, concrete, correct, coherent, complete, and courteous. These are the 7 C's effect, which are considered to be the effective tools for clear communication. I hope it was very clear to you. So, to conclude, communication is a skill, and when you try to communicate, you should always focus on your target group. You can communicate based on the needs and interest of a particular person. That is why it is called mind in the making. That is, You need to communicate properly. Planning is very important in the process of communication because it is an unavoidable tool that makes an extension worker to work effectively in a community. It is the vehicle through which the message or the basic managerial and administrative functions need to be carried out. So, direct open communications are always essential with good voice, tone, and body language. So, try to be good communicators while working with the community. Not only while working with the community, but also when you interact with others. Thank you.